Hello, everybody. It's George the Tech, and we're continuing our wonderful series of our client profiles with a story about noise. And this is one of those cautionary tales about living in the city, living in urban areas, and dealing with noise sources. And one noise source that turned out to be really out of the weirdest possible location.
George the Tech.
Here to share her story and what she did about it, I've got Jennifer Houseal with us today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, George?
Great to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
So tell us a little bit about you. We know you're here, so you're probably a voice actor, but give us a little rundown about your voiceover journey so far and how you've gotten to where you are now.
So I have a musical theater background. I got into voiceover about 3 years ago. And the original space that I was recording in was during the pandemic, and I was in my parents' house. My mom had a lovely walk-in closet that was carpeted, full of clothes.
Oh,
and
yeah, you were spoiled.
Yeah.
Yes, you were, yeah.
It was in the suburbs. Like, I never had any audio issues. Pretty cheap mic, too. Yeah, I actually got jobs, and it was fine.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of folks go through and do what you did, where you realize there's a degree that there's a considerable amount you can get away with a very, very affordable entry point cost. And at some point that went away. When did that happen?
Oh, man. Okay. So I moved to the Valley. I'm in LA. And that's when it all started. I started all this. There was always the presence of some kind of like either crackling or hissing. And so I thought, okay, it's my equipment. Like, that's what I started with. I was on a Focusrite Scarlett, and so I upgraded to an Audient ID4. And I got a Shure SM, what's the one everybody always
uses? The 7B?
Yes,
the radio
SM7B.
Mic? Yeah.
Yes, and that brought out every audio issue possible. Like, I could not get a good sound. And so I kid you not, like, just to do one audition, I would spend about 45 minutes putting my XLR cables like up all along hangers, because I thought maybe if they're up here and they're away from the other cables. So I would move things and do a take, and like halfway through the take, I'd start to get this crackling noise again. So I'd just be moving cables all around. I was convinced that it had to do with the placement of the cables. And then I started going on YouTube, and I went down several rabbit holes.
Yes.
And they said, okay, is your computer plugged into the wall? Because you could be getting like these kind of pulses through your computer.
Yeah. We're talking about RFI now. This is RFI and MFI, which is radio frequency interference or magnetic field interference, right? And these things come right through the air. It's how your cell phone works. It's how your Wi-Fi works. It's how you listen to the radio, and all that stuff's in the air. But not everybody is affected by it directly. In your case, you were. So you went through this crazy long. I mean, when we worked together, you came to me like, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to solve this?" And I was like, "Well, try these things." And you're like, "I did."
Oh yeah,
I did that too.
I have a list of things I tried. Yeah, I started with, I was actually on the right track in the very beginning. It was like, oh, take my cell phone out of the closet. Okay, turn the Wi-Fi off on my computer, that kind of a thing. And then it turned into cables. Okay, I got to get more expensive, I got to get Megami cables. Oh, I have too long. There's too many wraps around in the cable. Several cables. Let's see, what else is on my list? LED light. Maybe that's what's making the noise, like in my closet. So I changed it. I think I tried 6 different types of XLR cables. I switched mics. I went to Sennheiser MK4. I thought that would be better. Didn't do the job. And then I was like, oh, I can fix this in post. So I got Waves NS1, and I was just squishing stuff down and really not liking the sounds of my recordings. But I was like, well, I can get away with this for a minute.
Yeah.
I got a USB ground buster, which would basically be a separate power source for my interface. So it wasn't coming through my computer.
Right.
That was going to be the solution. I was sure it was
of course
not the solution. It did not do anything. Ferrite beads, these little guys, I put them on my XLR cables. I put them on all my power cords. Didn't do anything.
No noticeable change.
Nope. And then so finally I got a little RF EMF meter, and I started
Oh, wow.
like
It's like a
reading.
Geiger counter.
Yeah. And I started reading, I have it over there. I like around in my bedroom because my closet's in my bedroom, and just the window itself, like right through the window, I was like, oh, what is that thing? Oh, that's a cell phone tower. And I hadn't realized this entire time, like,
That's when you discovered that thing out the window.
yeah. And it was kind of disguised. It looks like a big weird pineapple in the sky, and I never really knew what it was
them.
for.
They really
And
try
I'm
to
like,
hide them.
oh,
They do. I mean,
geez.
the disguise is it's good enough that it didn't really call attention, which is what they're trying to do, right?
Yeah. And so then I went outside and got a little closer to it, and the thing was off the charts. It was just reading red, 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 red. So like anywhere on that side of the building, it was just complete red. And then I'm putting it around my computer and going, oh my gosh, this is what it is. So I ended up moving. I stayed in the same building. Oh, but wait, we had our appointment. And that's when you recommended
I think
the
after
quad
all of
cable.
those things is when we had the appointment.
Yes, I had just discovered the night before the crazy EMF. And you suggested a quad cable. And that actually was like huge. That took most of it away.
So a quad, this is something called a star quad microphone cable. It's not that much more expensive, actually, than a good quality normal cable. In fact, I have some of them on the website. In the gear recommendations area, you'll see at least one cable called a star quad. And anybody can use these. They're normal cables. They look the same. They plug in the same. Again, similar price. They just have a better ability of rejecting interference. And so that made a difference, but it was a detectable difference.
Oh, for sure.
You noticed the difference.
Yes. And it was strange, too, because the first one that I ordered came and there was no difference. And I was like, how can this be? But I had a feeling that it was labeled wrong or something. So I went to a different vendor and bought a second one because I was relentless at this point. Like I felt like a scientist.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm going to try everything.
Yeah, well, you are a scientist at this point.
And the second one
That's
came.
why we're talking.
Yeah. It was like every variable has to be tested. So yes, the second one, I plugged it in and I couldn't believe, like it was pretty magical. There was a little bit of a high pitch frequency coming in and out a little bit, but it wasn't consistent.
So dramatic improvement.
Yes. And then also we talked about Faraday fabric.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, which blocks EMF waves. So I put some up. I did a little test. I put some up in my window and it actually did, like putting the meter in front of the curtain.
Yeah.
And then behind the curtain, just out the window, there was, the thing would go from like red to green as far as how much was getting through.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that was great. And then the apartment across from me in my building opened up and it faces the other way, closets on the other side. And I was like, I have a pretty loud neighbor too. I think I'm going to move.
Didn't that happen too? I mean, all this came together in the craziest way because I think you were telling me during our consult.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, another apartment opened up and I have to let them know that I want it. Was it by the end of the day or tomorrow or something?
Yes, it was our appointment. And then my landlord had given me, I think, like a cutoff time to decide that was like 2 hours after our appointment. So I took all my stuff into the closet. He's like, I'm going to leave the door to the apartment open. You can take your equipment over and test it. And I did with the quad cable. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to move. Like, I just have to. Yeah,
so
it was
sounds
a
like
really crazy week where it all came
literally
together.
Everything improved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything improved when you moved.
Everything improved when I moved. And I still use the Faraday fabric, like the curtains behind me. I clipped it up in there. And then I also have it in my bedroom just because why not? It can't hurt.
So the new unit you're in,
yes,
it's no longer facing that street. Is it facing another street or is it on the other side of the building?
It's on the other side of the building, so it's facing another building.
Right. So the Faraday curtain, which for the people like Faraday curtain, these are draperies or curtains that have a metallic thread in them, which creates a shield, and essentially it shields from RF. And this is where the tinfoil hat thing came from. Where people are like, they're reading my brain waves and they're tapping into my brain, and but it literally does come from science. It's like if you have a metallic barrier, it will stop a signal, right? Like my
Yeah.
old apartment here in Venice, the walls are made out of plaster and lath. And like if you were to cut a hole through the wall, you would see what looks like chicken wire, that
Oh,
metal
yeah.
wire. And that actually shields too, which may
Oh,
sound like a great thing, right? Until you realize your Wi-Fi, my Wi-Fi would barely reach from my office to just outside the hall, down the hall.
oh, wow.
It was almost useless. And that was only 20 feet, right?
Yeah.
So our Faraday cages, that's a scientific system, but a Faraday curtain is definitely something that helps. And you're finding, even though you're off the street or you're facing the other way, you're still getting a benefit because you're getting reflection. People don't know that, but RF, radio frequency, reflects just like a light.
Yeah.
So it's reflecting off other buildings and coming right back in, right?
Absolutely. Like I'm facing the street, right? Like behind me is the pineapple. And then my bedroom faces out that way. So yeah, it can bounce off of a building back into the closet, which is why I have the curtains on
Gotcha.
that side too.
Okay, gotcha. So you're the room you're in now, that bedroom or this living room, I mean, faces
Yeah.
that
Yes.
where the pineapple is.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I want to like watch TV and cook myself with the EMF things like floating through my window. So
I know it's crazy.
can't
We are
hurt.
bathed in radio frequency energy all the time.
Yeah.
And there's certain amounts that the FCC deems are safe. Other people don't agree. Like when 5G mobile data came out. So when we transitioned from LTE, which was fast, to 5G, which is faster, there was some folks who were like, I don't want that in my life. I don't want it on my street. I don't want to be bathed in 5G. And there may be some truth to this, but a lot of it is kind of a little overblown. But there are certain scenarios like where you're getting an extra heavy dose.
Yeah.
And having that little meter you bought, was that expensive, the RF
No, it
detector?
was maybe like $48, $50 on
Mhm.
Amazon. Yeah, it
Mhm.
was so worth it.
And the bedroom you're in now has far, far less just coming off because it's on the backside.
Yes, definitely. And I
That's
watched
great.
way too many videos on EMF waves and what they'll do to the body. So even at night, like I sleep with my cell phone on my nightstand because that's my alarm clock. But I
Yeah.
had extra Faraday fabric from my curtain project, and so I'll just wrap it. It's like a little blanket, and I just put it around just to like
Oh,
my own
that's so cute.
sanity. I've left Faraday beads on everything. I'm like, why not? There's also something called Schoongite, which is like a
Oh.
natural occurring. It's like a it's not crystal, but it's like a little. It comes from a place in Russia,
Uh-huh.
and they mine it, and it's supposed to be really good for EMF waves. So like on the back of my computer now, I have a little sticker that's made of Schoongite, and I have them all around the house too.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this stuff's not hurting anybody. It's certainly not hurting you, whether it improves your life or prevents cancer or whatever it does. It's certainly it's not a huge expense for, a
Right.
little improvement, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell us now what your final setup is. What do you record with? This is what I knew now and working with Happily.
Oh, yes, because you had also said I live on a really busy avenue. You said a shotgun mic is better than I was working on the MK4.
Mhm.
So I got a Sennheiser 416
Mhm.
and I got it on Reverb. So it was like half price
Nice.
used, and it definitely worth
Good
the
for you.
investment, and it wasn't $1,000, which was great.
Right.
So I've
Yeah.
got the 416 into an Audient ID4 into my MacBook Pro.
Excellent. And then what do you like to record
yeah.
with?
I use Twisted Wave. I'm like
Mhm.
not super, super techie, although I do go on to Audition for a couple things that I like for them.
What do you like to use Audition for?
They have a single band compressor that I just bring
Mhm.
down like the high peaks with.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I was using their declicker, but I just
Yeah.
invested in the iZotope. I upped to 11 so I could get
Uh-huh.
the mouth declick
Right.
because
Mhm.
I've heard it's a lot better than just their regular declick. So I
Right.
just started fooling around with that last week because I am
Mhm.
very clicky.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
clicks. I was like, I'm not going to go through
Yeah.
all of this that I've just been through, and then now mouth clicks are my problem. Like, I've got to do something about it. Yeah.
This is the hell that you voice actors live through when you're your own worst critic. You're hearing yourself all day long, and the more you improve your audio, the more your recording system is sensitive, and so the more sensitive it is, the more body sounds it hears, right? So it kind of never ends. I have even recommended to a few voice actor clients of mine to get less good headphones, which sounds really counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But like when your headphones are super like crisp and have a lot of high frequency, and all they do is put a big magnifying glass in front of all your mouth clicks, and you become obsessed over them.
Yeah.
And you have to get rid of every one. And the thing is most people aren't ever going to hear them, but because they go right on by. But when there are certain kinds that stand out, you know, and that's what you really want to focus on. Yeah, RX11 standard, I think it is, is what has mouth to click, and that's their killer app, as they say. Every system has a killer app. The RX mouth to click is the killer app from RX. That is definitely super powerful.
I mean, I just put a couple settings on that I also learned from like a YouTube video, and I was like, wow. Because all of the water drinking, all of the little techniques or whatever, it's still the reality is I'm in a hot closet in the valley in August. Like, it gets dry, like.
Do you have air conditioning in that unit too? So you'll use that sometimes?
I turn it off when I'm recording, but I try to just blast the room for a while before I get in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're drying it down real good with the air conditioning, getting it cool and dry. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Taking all the moisture out of the room along with the heat.
It's true. So you're in your recording environment is a closet. You're in a closet now. How did you set it up in there to make it a nice recording environment?
So on the exposed walls that don't have clothes on them, I have audio tiles, and also on the ceiling audio tiles. And then just to cover up some of the like shoe rack areas and shelving, I have foam, like long foam strips, egg crate kind of stuff, and carpeting I put in rugs on the floor. Oh,
that's good. Oh, is the audio tile like a felt, kind of like a felt material?
Yeah, it's like a really thick felt. I'd say it's like a half an inch, and they're like octagons or maybe even more than,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that kind of technology or that material has become so much more accessible, and it's nice because it does a very nice job of getting rid of echo, and it's not that expensive, and it looks cool, and it's pretty easy to install. It has a lot of pros, right?
It absolutely does. I will say I also went through a journey with adhesive tape and finding one that, number one, wouldn't take paint off the wall, but number two, they would actually stick. Because the first round of tape I went through, I had them on the ceiling, and I was recording, and an audio tile just fell off and like hit me in the head in the middle of an audition. No. And so I mean, it's pretty funny. Like, I have this recording of me being like, like, what the? Got to find the kind. There's, I wish I knew the brand, but they're kind of sticky squares that are gel feeling instead of just a clear piece of tape that's just nothing. There's a little bit of thickness to it.
Yes.
Those are easy to peel off. The other kind, it took me about 6 hours to peel them when I moved off of my closet.
I think that stuff you're talking about is under some brand name. There's a brand name of some of it called Alien Tape. But it is actually not adhesive. It's actually some other special surface that is inspired by the pads on the feet of geckos. The way geckos can climb glass, for example. So you're thinking, they have sticky stuff on their toes. No, they don't. They have little tiny micro hairs that actually can molecularly bond with the surface they attach to. Oh, wow. And that's how they climb. So they're figuring out how to make this in tape. And the stuff that's cool about it is it sticks to fabric, sticks to drywall, it sticks to all kinds of stuff, and you can take it down. Oh, wow. And you can reuse it. You can actually wash it off and reuse the stuff. You know those lint rollers? You know the lint rollers where you can wash them? Yeah. Same kind of idea.
I think I was just marketed that recently on like Instagram or something, because when you said wash it, I was like, I've seen that video.
Yeah, it figures. So now you got them taped up and they haven't fallen down since you discovered this tape and all's well.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I love hearing your story. It was fun seeing you at the Voiceover casting event and where we connected and we're like, this would be a fun story.
Yes.
I hope you guys got something out of this. If you have RF noise or something you can't figure out, or if you have noise and you just don't know where the heck it's coming from, get a sound check. It's one of the things that we do. You can send in your audio sample with your voice and then the room tone. I'll take a listen to it and try to address what the heck is going on. And if it's multiple layers of noise, I'll say, well, I hear rumble, I hear air conditioning, and I hear RF, and we can help you sort it out, just like we did with Jennifer. Now, again, Jennifer, you made it easy because you did that huge process of elimination before we talked. But I'm glad.
Thanks. I didn't want to come to you without exhausting everything I could think of.
You're obviously very resourceful and smart, and you have a very good career ahead of you, I'm sure.
Oh, thanks. Yes, I am so glad all these tech issues are behind me. So
excellent. I'm glad to hear it. Well, thanks for your time. I'm glad you tuned in to talk to me today. And if anybody else needs anything, you know where to find us at georgethe.tech. Thanks a lot, Jennifer. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.